Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's Region 9 wrestling duel featuring the Tigers from Hurricane High School and the Warriors from Snow Canyon. The Hurricane Tigers have just entered the arena and had a team yell, and we're just getting ready to kick off the action here. My name is Kyle Case. I'm here with my friend and compatriot Jeff Harding. Jeff, how are you today?
I'm great, Kyle. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited. This is the first time in a long time that we've had television broadcast of high school wrestling, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how these two teams stack up against each other.
It is. I think a lot of folks are going to be impressed with the conditioning and the skill necessary to wrestle. These young men are outstanding athletes.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night. Really looking forward to it. We're just getting underway here. We're going to have the wrestlers introduced. We're going to have a national anthem here in just a moment, and then the action will begin. Beautiful rendition of the national anthem.
A wonderful tradition of sporting events.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got a lot of veterans in particular that have participated and participate in the sport of wrestling in one way or another, and I know that there's a lot of national pride and a lot of feel good about that tradition that we have here in sports, and certainly it's appreciated here in the sport of wrestling.
It is, it is. Well, in all sport.
In all sport, absolutely. So now we'll have an opportunity to have the wrestlers introduced by weight class, and they'll step out onto the center of the mat and be introduced. We actually will start tonight's match with a few forfeits. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for high school teams to field a full team with all the weight classes, and Region 9 for the most part will field a team, but there might be a forfeit here or there. And so that's how we'll start off our match tonight, with a couple of forfeits, and then right after those forfeits, we're going to get right into the action. And I'm excited to see how these teams stack up. Like I said, Jeff, I think we're going to see a pretty evenly matched group. There will be some wrestlers on either side that will maybe dominate in some ways, but I think we're going to see a lot of good matches, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I think you're right. I think that the kids train hard and they want to show. They want to show well, and you don't get to varsity without working hard and showing that you can produce.
Absolutely. And, of course, this is the varsity match. We just finished the JV match earlier. We had, I think, 7 or 8 matches in the JV side of things, and Hurricane actually came away ahead in the points from a team standpoint over Snow Canyon, and so it'll be interesting to see if that excitement translates to the varsity, or if Snow Canyon can kind of turn the tide and change the momentum in their own favor.
It will be, and even though the score may have been the final score may have been a little bit lopsided. The matches were a lot closer than you might have thought.
It's interesting how that works out. You know, it's easy to say that. It didn't reflect, the score didn't reflect the way the match or the game really was. We hear that all the time in sports.
In all sports.
And certainly wrestling is no exception. There will be lots of times when sometimes that score is not what you're hoping that it's going to be when you're on the losing side of it, but you still gave your effort and everything came together. It just wasn't the score that you were looking for. And that's the way it is sometimes in sports, and certainly wrestling is no exception.
Well, you're right, and it's a paradox, but the final score is all that anybody remembers.
Well, and really that's what counts. You know, I mean, all of the hyperbole of, well, I could have had him, should have had him. If I had just done this one thing, it would have made a difference. At the end of the day, it's the score, right?
It is what you did. It's not what you could have done. It is what you did. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we're just about done with the introductions, I think.
Just about to the end of the introductions. Hurricanes heavyweight there stepping onto the mat. Max Matthews, he will, of course, take a forfeit as well, as you saw that Snow Canyon did not have a wrestler for him to face tonight. Right. Now we have the tradition of the captains. They step out as captains onto the center of the mat, and the referee will flip a coin. An official for wrestling has a two-sided coin, of course, but it has two colors on it instead of heads and tails. He's going over a few of the rules, encouraging good sportsmanship, and flipping the coin. It looks like it is red side up, which gives Hurricane the choice to choose for the second round. They get to choose first.
Right.
And we'll get into some of those details and some of those rules. But with that red coin facing up, Hurricane will get the opportunity to choose first on either the even or the odd matches. I didn't see which one they picked down there, Jeff.
I didn't either.
But they'll get that first choice, and then Snow Canyon will get the choice on the opposite one, either the odd or the even, whichever one that it is. So we'll see if we can pay attention and see who actually won that coin toss and what the choice was. Hurricane won the toss, see what their choice was. So as I said earlier, Max Matthews from Hurricane is going to be the first wrestler to step onto the mat at the 285 weight class. He has a forfeit. Snow Canyon does not have a wrestler for him to face. So he checks in at the table, steps onto the mat, gets his hand raised, of course goes over to the opposing coach to shake hands. That's a great tradition in wrestling as well.
Wonderful sportsmanship.
Lots of attempts to teach these young men sportsmanship, and that is one of the ways that it's done. So Hurricane starts off the match with 6 points on the board. A forfeit or a pin is worth 6 points, 16 points. Now we see Caleb Levitt from Snow Canyon High School taking the mat. He has a forfeit where Hurricane does not have a wrestler to face him.
Right.
So now the score is tied 6-6. And then the last forfeit of the night is for Snow Canyon. Hunter Harris takes the mat right now. He'll have his hand raised as well. And that will take care of the forfeits. From here on out, ladies and gentlemen, it is all action. And the first match of the night is going to be in the 120 weight class. And we've got from Snow Canyon, Brandon Grisenti, who is a 10th grader, a sophomore, and he'll be facing Jared Armstrong from Hurricane in the 120 weight class. Jared wastes no time, shoots right in immediately on what we call a double leg takedown and gets the takedown. He is awarded 2 points for that.
Right, I was just going to point out that the official raises a hand to indicate the score and who gets it. There's wristbands on his hands. One's red, one's green, so the scorer knows which team to award the points. If it's the hand with the red wristband, it's the red team. If it's the green wristband, it's the green team.
And just to make it easy for us tonight, Hurricane is red and Snow Canyon is green, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So Brandon Grisenti has just scored an escape. Once he stands up on his feet and gets away from his opponent, that is a 1-point escape. And both the wrestlers are now in what we call the neutral position. And both will once again try for a takedown in a similar fashion to how Armstrong from Hurricane had just done just a few seconds ago.
It may be good to point out that each period is 2 minutes.
2 minutes long, and boy, I'll tell you what, Jeff, those 2 minutes are a long time.
They are.
When you're out there under that hot spotlight, wrestling your heart out. So it's going to be a lot of wrestling tonight. A wrestling match, if it goes the full distance without a pin or a fall, is 6 minutes. You have 3 2-minute rounds, and we're about a minute and a half, almost a minute and a half into the first round of the first actual wrestling match. The score is 12-6 from a team standpoint, again, because of those forfeits. The individual wrestlers, Jeff, the score is Armstrong from Hurricane 2, and Grisenti was 1. He just barely got a takedown there. And so now Grisenti is 3, and
it's tied. It's 3-3.
Armstrong gets an escape, and now the wrestlers are tied 3-3. Armstrong in on a single leg takedown, attempting to get Grisenti on the mat. Great defense from Grisenti. He clears his leg and is now back in that neutral position. And both wrestlers are once again attempting to score that takedown.
Yep.
And that'll end the first round. So, Jeff, let's see if we can see. Oh, it looks like
Hurricane chose the odds.
So, yes, so Hurricane is choosing first. The Hurricane wrestler, Armstrong, chose to defer his choice until the third round. And so Grisenti chose down in what we call the referee's position, and Armstrong covers him in the top position. And now it'll be Grisenti's job to try to stand up and get away, or to try to do a move that will put him on top and score a 2-point reversal. And that's basically wrestling in a nutshell, Jeff.
So he got his
escape. So Grisenti, with a great sit-out, what we call a sit-out, stands up and scores that 1-point escape and takes the lead. The score 4-3 with Snow Canyon in the lead.
Yep. Now, these kids are expending a lot of energy, even in their upright position. It's amazing how much energy they do expend.
Absolutely. I can tell you from experience, Jeff, in full disclosure, I do spend some of my time as assistant coach for Snow Canyon, and I've rolled around on the mat with almost all of these kids from Snow Canyon, and I'll tell you what, you've got to be in shape.
You do. Well, and you're also a high school wrestler, so you know what it's like to be where they are.
Right. Back in the day, I did have an opportunity to wrestle, and it's a great sport, one that is near and dear to my heart, and one that's easy to appreciate the athleticism. Even if you don't know a lot about the sport, you can see that there is a lot of athleticism that goes into it, and both of these wrestlers are giving their all, as you can see right now.
Right.
And again, the score 4-3. Grisenti is up by 1 point with about 40 seconds left in the second period, and Armstrong gets that double leg takedown. That obviously is a strength that he has. He shot in very deep, lifted Grisenti off the mat, but safely returned him to the mat to score 2 points.
It's the second time he's done it.
And now he has a dominant position on top. He went for what's called a half Nelson there, but it slipped out. Grisenti escaped from that. Now Grisenti's working up to his feet, trying to score another escape. And there he goes. He gets it just as they go out of bounds.
8 seconds left in the period.
8 seconds left in the period. As the wrestlers go out of bounds, the clock does stop. And the time will tick away now with just 3 seconds left. See if either of these wrestlers will score.
So now the Hurricane player, or the Hurricane wrestler, now has the choice of being up or down, and he's choosing down.
He had deferred in the second round to the third round, thinking that might be an advantage for him to get to choose in this last round, and he chooses down in the referee's position and pops right up and immediately works to get an escape and has achieved that. So now we see that the score is tied 5-5, and here he goes on that shot again.
6-5.
6-5. Armstrong getting that escape. We have a warning for stalling on Snow Canyon called there. That fist that the referee raised into the air means that he felt like Grisenti was not giving his full effort and was stalling, and he called a stalling. There were no points awarded for that. It's just a warning, but the second warning, he gives up a single point. Now Grisenti in on the leg, working on a single leg. Of course, Armstrong trying to defend that.
And he got himself out of bounds, so they have to go back.
No.
So he awarded 2 points.
So the referee has awarded 2-point takedown to Grisenti. Jeff, if one wrestler is out of bounds, but the other wrestler's feet are still inside the circle, they're still considered inbounds.
Interesting, yeah.
That's actually a new rule this year, and it's one that the coaches and the wrestlers have had to get used to. but with Grisenti's feet still inside the circle, he was awarded that takedown. Now we see that Armstrong is going for a switch, what is called a switch. He's reaching on the inside of Grisenti's leg. Grisenti, of course, is trying to maintain control.
And that would be worth 2 points.
If he is able to take him down, it would be. And a reversal for Armstrong would also be 2 points. So they're both going for 2 points here. And in a match like this, that makes a big difference where the score is so close. 7 for Grisenti and 6 for Armstrong. These wrestlers really are evenly matched. We have about 35 seconds left in the match. Grisenti still working on that takedown. Armstrong still trying to defend it. No points have been awarded yet. If Grisenti can cover Armstrong's hips and exert control over Armstrong's hips, he will be awarded 2 points. But Armstrong is still in a good position here. He isn't in a bad position here. So once again, we got a stalling call on Grisenti. I don't know, Jeff. I've been around wrestling a long time. That stalling call is one that's an interesting one. Every referee does it a little bit different. I'm not sure I would have called that stalling myself, but that was the way the referee saw it. And the score is tied.
Yeah.
7-7. If Armstrong can break away, he gets a point, and the match is over. It looks like he's going to ride it out. And, okay, no score. So now we go into overtime. The way overtime works in high school wrestling is both wrestlers will come to their colors in the middle of the mat, and they'll both start in the neutral position. They'll have 1 minute to score a takedown, and the first takedown wins.
And they're exhausted right now.
And they're both tired. They've both been giving everything that they've got. Armstrong has that dangerous double leg. Grisenti shooting in on a high C, a single leg. Armstrong's got that double leg. He goes for the shot, and he gets it. He gets the takedown, 2-point takedown. The match goes to Armstrong from Hurricane. Great effort by both wrestlers. Holy cow.
Excellent effort, yeah.
Congratulations to both. Armstrong coming away with the victory, the first actual wrestled match of the night. I can just imagine that Grisenti's heart is broken. And Armstrong, on the other hand, has got to be elated with that match. Both wrestlers giving their all, going into overtime. Great match, both guys. The next match is in the 126-pound weight class. From Hurricane, we have Joshua Armstrong. This is cousin to the wrestler at 120, and he is also the son of head coach Phil Armstrong from Hurricane. From Snow Canyon, we have Connor Taylor at the 126 weight class. Armstrong shooting in and running Taylor out of bounds with no points scored. He just shot what we call a duck under there and switched to a double leg takedown. Got the takedown. Connor Taylor attempting a leg pass there, but not able to convert on that leg pass, and gives up the takedown to Joshua Armstrong. The score 2-0. And the team score is 12-9, again factoring in those forfeits that we had at the beginning of tonight's match. Armstrong's got what we call an arm bar on Taylor there, and is holding him with his back exposed, and he has been given 2 points for a near fall. And there's 2 ways to score near fall in wrestling. You can hold him there for 2 to 4 counts. That is a 2-point move. Or if you can hold him with his back exposed for 5 seconds, you get, or longer, right? Then you get 3 points for the near fall. He was just awarded 2 points for that near fall, and now leads 4-0 over Connor Taylor from Snow Canyon High School.
Now Kyle, the viewers may notice that there seems to be a lot of grappling, trying to control limb. It's very important whether or not you let your opponent control your arms or your legs. It puts you in a vulnerable position for a pin or for a reversal, for an escape, if you let your opponent control your limbs. So there's a lot of effort put into controlling limbs, or trying to control limbs, or not letting your limbs be controlled.
Absolutely, absolutely. As coaches, we say all the time that you got to control your legs, you got to control your hips, you got to control your arms, or exert that control over your opponent. And it's from those positions where scoring is made and scoring is done. And as you said, Jeff, that's very, very important that you keep control of arms and legs and hips. And that's the first round in the 126 weight class here. We've got Joshua Armstrong up 4-0 over Connor Taylor.
And he deferred to the third round. It was his choice. He deferred to the third round.
Okay. So Hurricane will start in the bottom position for the beginning of the second round, trying to get that escape. Almost achieving it. Taylor dropped to his leg, trying to keep him from getting away, and it looks like Armstrong is going to get a reversal here, most likely. Yep, there it is. He was awarded a reversal. Called a reversal, obviously, because Armstrong started on the bottom and he reversed positions and ended up on top, and that is worth 2 points, and he extends his lead 6-0 now for Josh Armstrong from Hurricane High School.
Again, I'm just impressed with the energy these young men expend and their skills and abilities. You watch the hook the legs. It's just amazing to me the little things that they're doing that you may not notice.
A lot of athleticism and, frankly, Jeff, a lot of practice that goes into this as well.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have a pin, a very decisive pin by Josh Armstrong over Connor Taylor. Josh is a great wrestler. I've watched his career over the last couple of years. Of course, as I said, he is the coach's son and just really understands wrestling. Great wrestler. We expect good things from him out of Region 9, possibly a state championship, state placement for sure. We're watching for that.
And what year is he?
And he is a 9th grader, so he's got a bright career in front of him.
That was impressive for a 9th grader. That really was.
The next two wrestlers to step onto the mat are Caden White from Snow Canyon and Caleb Armstrong, brother to Joshua. He wastes no time to get a takedown against Caden White. Shoots right in, gets the takedown, and immediately goes to work on turning Caden, trying to score some near fall or the pin. And Caden, of course, holding on, trying to prevent that from happening.
Right. And you notice that they try to spread out. One thing, when you're on the ground, if you spread out, they have less chance of rolling you over and putting you in a vulnerable position.
Absolutely. It's all about leverage, body position. And Caleb Armstrong is a junior this year in the 11th grade. Caden White from Snow Canyon is a 10th grader. And so far, it looks like Armstrong is really dominating here. He's got an arm bar, turning over White. White's gonna have to hold on here for a long time. Gonna have to scramble and do anything he can to get off of his back so he can avoid a pin from Caleb Armstrong.
Now, the back has to be more than a 90-degree angle to the mat for it to be considered a near fall, right?
That is correct. That is correct. If you have a more than 90-degree angle towards the mat, they start counting for near fall, and they don't award that. Oh, there we go. Another pin for the Armstrong brothers. Both strong wrestlers. We anticipate great things out of both of these guys. Again, Caleb Armstrong, a junior this year, anticipating that he will do well in his season. We're about halfway through the season, a little more than halfway through the season. We've got a lot of wrestling left to do, but ultimately everyone is shooting for state and looking to make a name for themselves there.
Yeah.
The next wrestlers to take the mat, Jeff, are going to be Daxton Edwards from Snow Canyon High School and Levi Webb in the 138-pound weight class. And Daxton is there on the mat. I'm not sure where Levi is right now. Maybe he's getting his headgear ready to go. It's worth noting, just in the previous match, Caleb Armstrong has a 29-1 record so far, and his brother, Joshua Armstrong, a 26-3 record. So two very dominant wrestlers there.
And Joshua is also a freshman.
So these two wrestlers here, Daxton Edwards is a 10th grader, a sophomore, and Levi is a senior. And I think they should be fairly evenly matched, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Levi's record is 22-5, so very strong wrestler. Daxton's record is 20-11.
Levi
and
just scored a 2-point takedown.
Levi Webb just getting that takedown and now going right to work on trying to turn Daxton and see if he can score a pin for his team. Hurricane has gone up with those last two pins. The team score is 12-21 with Hurricane leading. And Snow Canyon's got to turn things around here if they can. Levi Webb's going for what we call a stack there. And if he can get it, you will see why it's called a stack. If Oh, Daxton's able to slip out of it. Edwards is now on his feet trying to score that escape, but Webb will have nothing to do with that and takes him right back down to the mat.
Folks are being treated to some wonderful wrestling here today.
Great rivalry between these two schools, Hurricane and Snow Canyon. There's been a lot of good history on every athletic field, wrestling including football, basketball. Tonight, of course, wrestling. And we're going back and forth here a little bit between these two wrestlers. And now Daxton scores that escape, that 1-point escape, and makes the score 2-1 with Webb in the lead. Now Daxton's going to see, Edwards is going to see if he can get that takedown. And, of course, Webb's going to go for the same thing.
Oh, shot.
A good deep shot, but he slipped off the legs. He's in a bear hug position now. And Webb tries to get a head throw out of that. Daxton's trying to defend that. And both wrestlers go out of bounds, and they'll be brought back to the center of the mat. Both wrestlers in the neutral position on their feet now. Again, trying to get that 2-point takedown.
And right now they're struggling for control of the head of their opponents. When they're in that position, they try to control the head of the opponent.
That's definitely a technique. If you can control the head, it's going to make it that much easier to get the takedown. Edwards defers his choice till the second round, and Webb chooses down in the referee's position. And Daxton throws in a leg. We call that a leg ride. And Webb has got a good defense on that. Edwards is trying to, again, use hip pressure to put Webb onto the mat and see if he can turn his back towards the mat. And Webb gets a reversal there by maintaining that head control, as you mentioned earlier, right. Jeff.
And also the spread. His limbs are spread. His legs and arms are both spread.
So he gets a 2-point reversal and continues in the lead. Webb 4, Edwards 1 in the second period here, with about a minute and 15 seconds left to wrestle in the second period. Webb has got a half Nelson on Edwards, trying to turn him. Edwards is blocking with his legs and his hips, doing everything he can to keep himself from being turned.
Some great action out there. It's interesting to see them shift from side to side. If they're on the control position on top, they switch from side to side, trying to change the leverage.
Yeah, throw their opponent off balance in any way that they can. And good wrestlers will be able to jump from side to side and wrestle on either side of their opponent. And both wrestlers have rolled out of bounds there and will be brought back to the center of the mat. Edwards will be in the down position because of the reversal that Webb had, and Webb will take the top position. And the whistle blows, and they're off once again. Webb trying to turn him. Edwards doing everything he can to keep from getting turned.
Yeah. And they're both strong. I mean, they're both doing a great job of defending their particular position, the control or the controlled position.
Absolutely. About 15 seconds left in the second round.
4-1 for the Hurricane player, Webb.
4-1, and about 5 seconds left. It looks like we'll probably run out of time with no additional points scored here. And it should be Edwards' choice as he deferred to the third round. He looks over to his coach, Nick Lang, and gets some guidance and direction. He has the option of going up, down, or neutral, and he chose neutral. He's thinking he can get a takedown here, and he needs to score some points if he's going to turn the tide of Hurricanes' victories. And he's probably got to get a move on it and get it done quickly, because a 2-point takedown doesn't tie the match yet. He'll have to score again if he gets that takedown.
Well, and you can tell they're both fatigued. They're breathing hard. So, I mean, they're really digging deep to keep going and keep working at this point. I mean, I'm impressed.
Personal pride and school pride on the line, of course. Edwards has a front headlock. That is a particular style that is taught at Snow Canyon, and wasn't able to hold on to it.
No.
Webb muscles through, pressures in, and gets the takedown. He goes up 6-1 with about a minute and 10 seconds left in the match. Edwards is really in a hole here. He's going to have to dig deep to find a way to score. He almost needs to pin him in order to have a chance of winning this match. And Webb is not going to let that happen if he can help it.
No, he's not. He's working hard. I mean, again, you can see the strategy. You can see the strategy in their head. They're thinking, if I could just do this, if I could just do that, and they're trying to get in the position to do it, and they're both trying to exert their will on the other, and it's just amazing.
That's a great point, Jeff. Jordan Burroughs, one of the great wrestlers of our time, perhaps the greatest wrestler of our generation, Olympic gold medalist, 3-time world champion. He summarizes wrestling in a nutshell by just simply saying that my job is to exert my will over my opponent, and that really is the way that it works. Webb had an arm bar there and turned Edwards, but Edwards kind of squirreled his way out of that and scores a 2-point reversal.
With 10 seconds left.
I don't know if it's going to be enough for him. There's 10 seconds left. Edwards will be on top in the referee's position here. 10 seconds left. I don't know what he's going to do, but he's got to do it fast. Going for that near fall, attempting to get a 3-point near fall and see if he could tie it up. Unsuccessful in the attempt, and the win goes to senior Levi Webb from Hurricane, Utah. Again, great record for this wrestler, 22-5. We expect good things out of him.
Goes to 23-5 now.
From Region 9. That is true. That is true. The next match that will take place is in the 145 weight class. Tanner Wild from Snow Canyon and Owen Sanders from Hurricane. Again, both wrestlers fairly evenly matched. I believe this should be a good match between the two of them.
One's a senior.
Tanner Wild is a senior this year.
Sanders is a junior.
Owen Sanders is in the 11th grade. Wild shoots in on that shot and is attempting to get late control. But Sanders is not giving it to him easily by any means.
No.
Wild's got to circle around. He's got to pull his arm out and his head out, and if he can, he'll be awarded the takedown. But until he gets that arm, there we go. That arm comes loose, and there's 2 points for the takedown. And now he will start working on the near fall or the pin. He's trying to turn Sanders to his back to score. And Snow Canyon's got to turn this around if they're going to have a chance to win this duel. Hurricane has won all of the wrestled matches so far.
Right.
And Wild will take it upon himself. He is a team captain for Snow Canyon to try to turn that tide.
Now there's about a minute left in the first round, first period.
Tanner Wild puts in that arm bar, and Owens immediately shifts his hips to block it. Wild is really good at this. He works from both sides when he gets that arm bar in. He jumps on one side with the arm bar. He jumps to the other side with a half Nelson. That call right there, Jeff, is what is called a potentially dangerous. And the referee felt like Sanders' shoulders were in danger of injury. And so rather than risk it, he stops the match, resets the wrestlers. And that's really just for the safety of the wrestlers. And look at that. There was a reversal by Sanders. Great move. Quick on his feet. Good hip position. And takes control of Wild and ties the score up 2-2.
Yeah, with about 20 seconds left in the first period.
So now he's working on what's called a power half with his legs in and on a leg ride. That's a very painful position for the bottom man to be in.
Yeah. See,
Wild trying to fight out of that.
To get out of it. Yeah, trying to get free his legs from Sanders' control.
And the time will expire with no additional points scored. Like I said at the beginning, both of these wrestlers are evenly matched. The score is tied 2-2. And Snow Canyon chooses down.
Actually, I think it was Sanders that chose up.
Oh, was it? Okay, excuse me. Sanders chooses top. He must feel like he has an advantage on the top. But great switch by Tanner Wild, but unable to turn it into points.
Sanders just did it right back to him.
Followed his hips around and put himself back into position of control. And now he's got that leg ride in once again. As I said, that's a very controlling and painful position for the bottom man. He is riding a little high there, though.
It's pretty vulnerable because you can roll yourself right over.
Yeah, and if Tanner Wild can pull his head out, he'll score a 2-point reversal there.
Yeah.
once he gains complete control of his opponent. It looks like that has just happened, and the referee awards 2 points for the reversal. And the score is now 4 for Wild, 2 for Sanders.
There's about a minute and 15 seconds left in this period.
Wild's looking for that arm bar and gets it, and turns him over, and can he hold on to it? He tries to get his hips back in position. Oh, the referee's got to watch that shoulder there.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. That's
Wild still has the arm bar. Sanders has turned his hips and is blocking. Wild's got to try to do something without hurting that shoulder on Sanders. If so, the referee will stop it. You see the official is holding 2 fingers there. That means he is holding those 2 points to award Tanner Wild 2 points. Oh, now it looks like we might get some more near fall out of this.
1, 2,
the referee
3,
counting.
4.
If he gets to 5,
so
that
3 points.
That will turn to 3 points, but he will hold on to those 3 points until the bottom man has a chance to improve, which he did, and he now awards the 3 points and then calls once again a potentially dangerous, trying to protect the joints and limbs.
So there's no penalty to the individual that's doing the potentially dangerous hold.
Correct. It's not illegal. It's a perfectly legal move. It's just that it puts that wrestler in a little bit of danger, and we want to protect the wrestler, and so we call it potentially dangerous and reset both of those wrestlers. It's not illegal. It's just to protect the wrestler's joints, and in this case, we certainly would hate to see somebody injured.
Oh yeah. That's the end of the period.
End of the second period. The score is Tanner Wild from Snow Canyon 7 with Owen Sanders from Hurricane 2. Wild will have the bottom position for the third round, and he will now try to score from that position. Beautiful switch. Sanders re-switched on him last time he tried that, but this time Wild was able to stop the re-switch and score 2 points for a reversal.
I think Sanders is the point that he's got to have a pin if he wants to win.
Yeah, he's in a pretty deep hole here. Wild up by 7 points. The score 9-2.
And it's even if they're matched, that's an insurmountable point total to try and get up in 2 minutes.
It's really tough to score 7 points in a minute and a half unless you go for the pin. And, of course, Sanders has got to be thinking that is what he's going for. And then, obviously, Wild's going to try to keep that from happening.
Yep.
This is kind of a unique move that Wild has. Kind of a stack, kind of a tilt, kind of just an interesting, unique thing that he does, but he scores near fall on it a lot of times and got some near fall, but did lose control and gave up a reversal. So he scored 2 points near fall and gave up 2 points for the reversal. So a wash as far as the points are concerned. And Sanders is now on top and attempting to go for that pin that we were talking about. About 45 seconds left in the match. Wild is now trying to scramble from the bottom. Yeah. Oh, he stacked him up tight. It looks like he's flat as can be, and Tanner Wild gets the pin for Snow Canyon. Great match, both wrestlers. Tanner Wild coming out on top, puts 6 points for the team on the board for Snow Canyon. 2 great wrestlers there. Boy, it's fun to watch these matches as they're so evenly matched.
Well, what's really interesting is with wrestling, sometimes you put yourself in a very vulnerable position to try and score a pin.
And sometimes it backfires.
It's amazing how quickly your situation can change.
That is exactly right. So the next weight class is 152. Trayson Abbott from Hurricane High School and Anthony Rosales. Trayson is a senior this year with a 3.0 GPA. Great wrestler, has been a great wrestler for Hurricane for a number of years. Gets the takedown right off the bat and immediately goes to work on trying to turn Rosales. Rosales is a 10th grader for Snow Canyon. First year wrestling for the team, though, and has made a lot of improvements this year in the room. Come a long ways, but still has a lot to learn as a 10th grader, and I have a feeling that Trayson Abbott would like to give him a lesson or two.
Yeah, he's got him in the leg hold too, but he's trying to stand up out of it.
So if Anthony Rosales is able to... here we go. Here we go. This is what we call a banana split, and this is one of Trayson's favorite moves. he indicated this is one of the things that he likes to do the most. It's a tough one. It's very painful for the bottom man. Not easy to get, but Trayson was able to get it on Rosales and put him on his back and score some
did a
points.
good job of getting out of it.
Yeah, Rosales kicked out of it. Thankfully for him, he wasn't stuck there. He was able to get out of it and gets onto his stomach and has now got to work to his base and look to score. And Abbott is working on turning him once again, trying to get arm control.
There's about 30 seconds left in this first period.
Score is 4 points for Abbott, 0 for Rosales. On your screen there, it says Rogers. Coaches sometimes make little adjustments there. And Matt Rogers wrestled earlier this evening in the JV portion of the match, and Rosales is wrestling varsity tonight. Abbott again going for that arm bar and trying to turn Rosales. He's, of course, turning his hips, as you can see, trying to keep himself from going over. And it looks like the round will end with a score of 4-0 for
Abbott.
Trayson Abbott.
So, Kyle, in the wrestling match, whose responsibility is it to force action? Is it the person on the bottom or the person on top?
It's actually both wrestlers' responsibility, and you can see that if they don't force the action, the referee can call stalling on either wrestler. Earlier in the match, we saw that stalling was called against Snow Canyon and Grisenti. Wow, big throw there. Abbott keeps his feet on the mat and is awarded the takedown, and now he's going to try to... No, there he goes. He just goes out of bounds.
You got another 2 points for near fall.
It's 2 point for takedown, 2 point for near fall, and the wrestlers will reset in the middle with Rosales on the bottom and Abbott on the top. Abbott is a great wrestler. Like I said, I've followed him a little bit over the last several years. Had a lot of success. He placed 4th in state last year as a junior, and this year he's hoping to better that place.
Oh, yeah.
And looks like he's well on his way. His record this year is 8-2. I'm not sure why he's not got as many matches as some of his teammates, but it looks like he's ready to roll and looking to have a good, strong finish on the year.
Yeah.
He had what we call a guillotine there and was unable to convert any points. Rosales able to fight his way out of that.
And almost got a reversal on that particular move.
But unable to convert and stays on the bottom. Abbott on top and in control. The score 8-0 for Abbott. And Rosales is going to have to score some points here if he's going to get into this match. About 50 seconds left in the second round. So far, Abbott has dominated Rosales, and the score reflects that with 8-0.
So, back in my day, they used to award riding time for a wrestler who spent a lot of time on top, like has happened here with Abbott.
Yeah.
Do they do that anymore? Or is that a non-existent?
That is not the way that it works in high school wrestling. They don't have riding time in high school wrestling, but they do continue to do that in college.
Okay.
So if you ever on ESPN2 or ESPN University sometime caught Division I college wrestling match, you would see that riding time is a big deal to those college wrestlers. For a high school wrestler, you don't score points with riding time, but you do have to maintain action. Otherwise, you could get dinged for stalling. So you've got to keep yourself moving. They went out of bounds and brought back to the center of the mat. About 10 seconds left in the second period, and it looks like we'll probably go into the third period with the score still 8-0 with Abbott from Hurricane in the lead.
You can see the inexperience on the part of
Rosales.
Rosales, sorry, yes.
Yeah, that is true. He's
got some skill. You can see his skill, but you can also see his inexperience.
He's got some skill. He's got some strength. He's got some heart for sure. But Abbott definitely does have the jump on him when it comes to experience and mat time. He's got a lot of experience, and it shows in his technique.
Yeah. I noticed that Snow Canyon has a lot of underclassmen wrestling varsity this year.
Pretty young team this year for Snow Canyon. Still, the team has been able to have a measure of success, but I'm anticipating over the next 2 years in particular, and hopefully into the future, Snow Canyon will be able to capitalize on some of these young wrestlers who are getting some very valuable wrestling time right now.
Great experience.
Even if they're not getting the wins that they're looking for, they're getting great experience, and hopefully that will translate to more success down the line. Hurricane, on the other hand, has a couple of freshmen and sophomores in varsity positions as well, but they do have several upperclassmen. that have that experience and seem to be that seems to be the difference so far in this team score, which is 18-24 with Hurricane in the lead. Abbott now trying to get that near fall by turning Rosales, and he just does not want to go over.
Well, and it's really, that's a team thing, because it's 3 points if he just loses by points, but it's 6 points if he's pinned. So he's really helping his team out by fighting to avoid the pin.
Absolutely. That is worth mentioning. A pin is worth 16 points. A technical fall or winning by 15 points is worth 5 points. If you are ahead by 8 points when the time expires, that is worth 14 points. And a decision of points that is less than 8 is 3 points. And so in this case, unless Rosales is able to score, Trayson will score a
4 points for his team.
4-point major decision for his team. 10 seconds left for Rosales to come up off the bottom there. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
I think he's spanned. He's worked his heart out. Oh.
There we go. Time expires. Abbott with the victory, 8-0. We're going to give unsportsmanlike conduct to Trayson Abbott, who used Anthony Rosales as support to stand up. I don't know that Trayson was trying to do that intentionally, but that is the referee's decision, and he awards a team point to Snow Canyon for unsportsmanlike conduct. Just something those wrestlers need to be aware of and think about. Again, I didn't see malice necessarily, but he did definitely use Rosales to support himself as he stood up, and the referee felt like that was unsportsmanlike conduct and dinged him a team point. So that can happen sometimes in wrestling.
Can.
The next wrestlers to take the mat will be Scott Carter in the 160-pound weight class from Hurricane. He's a sophomore in the 10th grade. And from Snow Canyon, you've got J.D. Doty, who is also a 10th grader. Looks like there was some discussion possibly about that unsportsmanlike call. I'm not sure what the coaches are discussing down there. Rarely will you ever change an official's mind, but sometimes the coaches want to make sure that their opinions are heard, and it looks like that was the case there. These two wrestlers, again, both sophomores, both looking to make a name for themselves for their respective schools, and both trying to score some team points. J.D. Doty in on a double leg there and trying to convert that to 2 points for Snow Canyon. He brings him up off the mat. It's his responsibility to put him down safely, which he did, and Doty is awarded 2 points for the takedown there over Carter from Hurricane. And now he goes right to work. Oh, a half Nelson. If he can convert that to a pin, that would be 6 big points for Snow Canyon, important points, but no, he was unable to convert that to near fall or to a pin. And now he goes back to it again.
Yeah.
And let's see if he can.
The hips, Carter's hips are all out of place for resisting.
And now we've got near fall being counted. And Doty is attempting. Oh, he lays him flat. If an opponent's shoulder blades are flat on the mat for a 2 count, that constitutes a pin, and J.D. Doty definitely had Carter flat there for 2 full counts, and J.D. gets the points for his Snow Canyon Warrior wrestlers, and the score is now 24-27 with Hurricane still in the lead by 3 points. This is going to be a wrestling match, Jeff. It's going to come down to the last matches to see who's going to come out on top in this duel. Great wrestling from both teams.
We have 4 matches left.
It'll be interesting to see how these last 4 matches go. On the mat right now, we have Leif Boatwright from Snow Canyon High School with a great shot to see if he can convert against Damian Anderson from Hurricane. He does convert, gets the takedown. Anderson pops right back up and attempts to get an escape, but the wrestlers go out of bounds and will come back to the center of the ring. Anderson is now in the down position, and Boatwright will be on top, and he'll see if he can turn him. And, of course, Anderson's going to try to get away or score a reversal.
They're both sophomores, so they're the same year in school.
Both 10th graders, and both really going to work hard to score points for their respective teams. Once again, the wrestlers roll out of bounds, They'll be brought back to the center of the mat. Both good students here, Jeff. A 3.5 GPA for Anderson from Hurricane. And Leif Boatwright is holding strong at a 4.0 so far. He's got a half Nelson and got Anderson on his back, trying to get that pin. He looks pretty flat from up here, and he gets the pin.
Yep. Well, the records were Boatwright has a 12-9 record, where Anderson has a 10-16 record.
So a big win for Snow Canyon. With those 6 points, Snow Canyon goes ahead.
Yep.
The score now 30-27. And as I said, this is going to be a wrestling match. It's going to come down to the last wrestlers. And, boy, it's going to be exciting to see who's going to be able to hold it together and pull it out and win this match. Our next wrestlers on the mat, we have Cesar Pinto in the 182-pound weight class from Hurricane High School, and Marcus Esparza wrestling in that 182-pound weight class. Marcus is a senior this year for Snow Canyon, and Pinto is in the 11th grade, a junior. The wrestlers go out of bounds, will be brought back to the center of the mat, and trying to get that takedown. Jeff, 2 points for a takedown. 2 points is a lot of points when you're in a match this close, and can be the difference between winning or losing the match.
Well, and for the wrestlers, the psychological advantage of being the first one to get the takedown is important.
It can mean a lot, absolutely. It's all about momentum, and a lot of times that first takedown is just enough to give you some confidence to keep you rolling through the rest of the match.
Cesar gets the first takedown.
There we go, 2 points for Pinto from Hurricane High School, and Marcus Esparza from Snow Canyon is now on the bottom trying to work up to see if he can either get a 1 point escape or see if he can reverse their positions and get a 2 point reversal.
It looks like he's going to get
big sit out by Esparza, and he scores a 1 point escape as they circle back into the center of the mat. And the score 2-1 with Pinto in the lead. Esparza shoots in, not a great shot, but he's trying to capitalize on it. Looks like he's going to back out, reset, and maybe try again. Pinto going for the takedown this time, a double leg attempt there, and they roll, Esparza is pushed out of bounds, and they're brought back to the center. Now, this is something you don't always see. The referee is tying his shoes. They've actually made it illegal for a wrestler to tie his shoes on the mat. It's a 1 point penalty. I've never seen the referee have to do that.
So if they have to tie the shoe, they have to leave the mat or call timeout?
Well, no. The wrestling shoes these days actually have little pockets that the shoelaces go inside, or they have to be taped down. Because if you have to tie your shoes, you obviously do it on the mat, but you give up a point to your opponent when that happens. And so coaches are always making sure that their wrestlers have their shoelaces stuffed inside those little pockets on the shoes, or they're taped up tight so they don't give up those unnecessary points.
Yeah, that's first period.
First period, Esparza 1, Pinto 2. It looks like Hurricane has deferred to the third period, and Esparza chooses bottom. The team score is Snow Canyon 30, Hurricane 27. Close duel. Good sit out once again.
That's how he escaped before, was a sit out.
That's the same thing that he did earlier, and with the same result.
Yeah.
So the score goes 2-2. Looks like we awarded that to Pinto inadvertently, but the score on the screen is correct now, 2-2. And now they're working for that takedown. So Pinto tries to shoot in. Esparza putting on a good defense, sprawling back, getting a front headlock, blocking his forward momentum, so Pinto is unable to capitalize on the shot. And now Esparza on the attack with a 2-on-1, trying to set it up for something. And Pinto pulls that arm free, and no score for either wrestler.
About a minute left in this period.
Dan Gable, again, one of the famous U.S. wrestlers, Olympic gold medalist, very successful college coach, a real advocate for the sport of wrestling, always said, you shoot, I score, I shoot, I score. And that's the way that wrestling can work. Your defense can turn very quickly into offense, as that was the case right there with Marcus Esparza. He was not the aggressor on the shot, but because he had good aggressive defense, he was able to capitalize and score a 2-point takedown. His score 4, and Pinto with the escape right there now goes to 3. Esparza still in the lead with about 25 seconds left in the second period.
As the weights get heavier, the fatigue factor increases in the wrestling match. You'll notice that the bigger guys don't have nearly the bounce in their step getting to the second and third rounds as the smaller guys do.
It tends to be that way, that is true. And you'll notice that the technique changes a little bit as well. Just different kinds of moves that you see in the heavier weights than you might in the lower weight classes. But it's just as fun to watch the heavier guys go after it, and still a ton of athleticism. That ends the second round, and now we'll go into the third period, and it looks like Hurricane is choosing to go in the bottom position, in the referee's position.
Pretty it's easier to escape than it is to take down.
That's the thought process. But here's a leg ride. You really, Jeff, don't see a lot of leg rides from bigger wrestlers, but Esparza practices this in the wrestling room a lot.
Now,
and he has got
is that a chokehold? Is that legal?
In that particular position where he is in, that was legal. There are times when an arm across the throat can be illegal, but the way that they were positioned with that leg ride, and that would be considered a crossface, even though it was across his throat, and it was perfectly legal and very well executed by Esparza for 3 points near fall.
Yeah, 3-point right, or 3-point near fall right. So he had.
And Pinto has not given up. He pops up and gets an escape, making the score 7-4. And both wrestlers on their feet now, and once again we're working for that takedown. About a minute left in the third round. Esparza leading 7-4. Pinto goes for the shot. Esparza trying to get his hips back, and the referee blows the whistle for out of bounds. He also warns Esparza for stalling. No points awarded, but the next time, if he is awarded, or if he is warned for stalling, that'll be 1 point for Hurricane. So he's got to make sure that he is aggressive, is not backing up, and is looking for the opportunity to shoot and take people down. And of course, Pinto's got to get some points here, so he's got to be trying the same thing as well.
Yeah, there's only a half minute left.
30 seconds left. The score 7-4. Pinto's got to score here and try to get some near fall. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to score the points that he needs. And of course, Esparza is trying to keep that from happening. As you saw right there, the referee holding that fist up for stalling for Pinto. No points awarded. Esparza almost in control, but not enough time in control, and no points awarded. It looks like they go out of bounds once again.
With 8.6 seconds left.
Both wrestlers will be on their feet as they come back into the center of the ring. You can see Pinto very tired, breathing heavily. Esparza, of course, exerted a lot of energy as well. He's just got to hold on for 5 more seconds, and then he'll have a victory. Oh, and look at that. Pinto goes for the takedown. Great defense by Esparza. Gets the takedown himself and ends up with a score of 9-4 for Marcus Esparza from Snow Canyon High School. Puts 3 more points on the board for Snow Canyon High School. The team score now 33-27 with 2 matches left, and 2 good matches, I think, coming up. We've got in the 195-pound weight class, Corbin Penrod from Hurricane and Carson Hansen from Snow Canyon. Carson Hansen is just a 9th grader this year, so big kid for the 9th grade. And Corbin Penrod is just a 10th grader, so 2 big kids for their age.
It's amazing. When I was in high school a century and a half ago, we wanted linemen that were 180.
That's right. That's right. And, well, you can tell, you look at these 2 young men, and just great muscle tone.
Oh, yeah.
Both in very good shape. Both very strong.
Muscle mass.
As I said, I've had the opportunity to wrestle with Carson before. He does have not a lot of experience. He's a fairly inexperienced wrestler, but he's pretty strong.
That's called a hip heist, isn't it?
Carson Hansen had what's called a bear hug. Penrod goes for a head throw and gets it and gets some points, but Hansen trying to pull his head out and get a reversal, but Penrod rolls him back around. Once again, trying to score near fall for his team, But if Carson can keep his hips the way that he has them right now,
it'll be very difficult for that to happen.
he won't be scoring any points. But boy, that's a painful position to be in. I'll tell you, that is not a fun place to be.
No.
You hear Hurricanes crowd yelling squeeze, trying to squeeze that headlock, trying to score points, trying to lay Hansen flat. It looks like the referee is now counting
4,
near fall.
5.
Hansen has got to hold on for 25 seconds, which is possible, but boy, that's a tough place to be in for 20 seconds.
Yeah. He might make it. He's done it for a while already.
Penrod really trying to get that pin. That'll make a big difference in the team score if he's able to get it. Hansen trying to keep that from happening. And it looks like time will expire. Time has expired, but with the noise from the crowd, it's hard for the referee to hear that buzzer. Went for a few extra seconds there, but it didn't result in any problems for either wrestler.
I think we have a bloody nose.
It looks like we do have a bloody nose. I'm not sure is it Hansen that's bleeding down there? Yeah, so this is a very common occurrence in the sport of wrestling. He'll take a minute and get his nose cleaned up and get the blood stopped. Both wrestlers will for safety's sake, make sure that there's no blood on them and use the disinfectant to clean themselves off. So far, Jeff, a great match between both of these teams. And you know, when you think about how well both these teams are doing, it's no wonder both coaches were great wrestlers themselves in high school as well as college for Coach Armstrong from Hurricane High School. Coach Armstrong was a 2-time state champion for Pocatello High School in Idaho, and then he went on and wrestled at BYU back when BYU had a wrestling program. He was a 2-time WAC champion.
Wow, that's impressive.
So a lot of experience there, and it shows in his family. As we said earlier, he has a nephew and 2 sons that wrestle on the team. All 3 of the Armstrongs, of course, came away with victories at this duel. Nick Lang, the head coach for Snow Canyon High School, no slouch in the wrestling department himself. As a high school wrestler, he was a state placer, and more recently, he actually went to the U.S. Open in the Veterans Division and wrestled in the Greco-Roman style of wrestling, and he walked away a national champion in that meet.
That's impressive.
So both coaches able to share a lot of skills with their wrestlers. So Carson Hansen will take will be on the bottom position.
Deferred to the last period.
Okay, it looks like Penrod is really going after this win. He got a big pep talk from his coach, Coach Armstrong, telling him we need this win. He's going after it. Of course, Carson Hansen going to try to do everything he can to keep that from happening and put a W up on the board for Snow Canyon if he can.
Yeah. Bear hug.
He's going for that head throw once again. Penrod really going for that head throw, and it worked for him last time. He's trying to get that pin if he can. Hansen's got to lower his hips if he feels that pressure coming and see if he can circle around to the front to defend the head throw. Penrod shooting a great double leg, beautiful double leg, scores the 2-point takedown, and now going right to work on a power half. Very aggressive move. Trying to turn Hansen there. Hansen fights out of it and is now trying to stand up himself, trying to get that escape. It looks like we had a unsportsmanlike conduct called against the coaches from Snow Canyon. Looks like they were saying something that the official didn't like, and so he's trying to keep control of the situation and dinged the coaches for 1 point. Hansen trying to stand up, almost stood up, lost his balance, and now in one of the strangest positions I've seen, but could possibly pin Penrod there, but no, Penrod fights out of it and gets the...
So there was a reversal and a reversal.
Gets the reversal and then a reversal. And Hansen gets the escape there. Boy, that was a flurry of activity. It was hard to keep track of exactly what was happening there. The score is 3 for Snow Canyon and Hansen, 9 for Penrod from Hurricane. Neither wrestler wants to concede this match. They're both going for it, and this could be a pivotal match when it comes to the total score for each team. The score right now, 27-32, with Snow Canyon in the lead. And about 10 seconds left in the round. Both wrestlers going for it for sure. Penrod has a much more aggressive style. You see there's a lot more jerky movement, really trying to make a statement and let Hansen know that he is there and ready to wrestle.
Yeah.
And Hansen can't let that get to him. He's got to keep a clear head and not let that throw him off. The referee once again
tying his shoe.
Again, it's probably not as funny to anybody else as it is to me, but you just don't see that very often.
No, you don't.
And 2 times in one duel is kind of a strange occurrence. Hansen jumps up, right away, pops up, gets that 1-point escape, and now the wrestlers are neutral. And again, Jeff, we're back on our feet going for that 2-point takedown.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
The score is 7-9. If Hansen can get the takedown, he'll tie it up. If Penrod gets it, then of course he extends that lead.
Yeah. Again, you can see the fatigue. They're not moving quite as fast. They're a little bit more conservative in some of their actions.
Oh, looks like we've got potentially dangerous. As I said, always trying to protect the wrestlers. Potentially dangerous on the knee for Hansen there. He looks to be okay, no problem. But we just want to protect these kids and not have any injuries if we can help it. Oh, big 2-point takedown by Hansen. Possibly an aggressive move there, and they go out of bounds. Hansen gets the 2 points. Penrod popped right back up, and it looks like he did not get the escape. I thought he was going to be awarded the escape. Was not awarded the escape and is now down. The score is tied 9-9. Penrod popping up, trying to get hand control. They've got to stay on the mat. We've got stalling warning on Hansen. He's got a bear hug now right there. And Penrod going for that head throw once again. But Hansen able to defend it and puts him back down on the mat. No points awarded because Hansen was on the top, but he's now going for the turn, and he turns him over if he can keep his feet. Oh, and his feet slide out of bounds.
He got 2 points.
But he did get 2 points near fall before those feet went out of bounds. If Hansen had been able to keep his feet inside the circle, and that's just a question of experience there, Jeff. Once again, a 9th grader, maybe not familiar with Matt's placement and where he was at, but his feet did slide out of bounds. So they called the out of bounds. Now the wrestlers will reset, but not before Hansen got a 2-point near fall, and he goes up 11-9 with 37 seconds left. Penrod once again popping up just like he has been all match long,
That time,
trying to get the escape, but Hansen takes him back down with an ankle pick, an ankle ride. And now Hansen's got to ride him out with 20 seconds left. If he can, there's that's a power half there that he's using to try to turn Penrod. And if he can turn him, it will probably spell the end of Penrod. 10 seconds left. Hansen's trying to get the turn and now trying to get the pin, but no, unable to. He gets 2 points near fall, but also gives up 2-point reversal. And the match ends with Hansen ahead by 2 points. A big flurry of activity there at the end.
That was a great
2 points awarded to both wrestlers, 2 for near fall for Hansen, 2 for reversal.
2 excellent athletes going at it and not giving up to the bitter end.
Great effort on both sides. Tensions and excitement very high in this gymnasium from the coaches as well as the fans and the wrestlers themselves. That was a big win for Snow Canyon. And now it comes down to the last match of the night. The score 32-27, Snow Canyon ahead. And this match is in the 220-pound weight class. We have got Shane Farnsworth from Hurricane High School and Tui Kanash. Let's see, Shane is a senior this year. Tui, as he goes by, his nickname is a junior.
And Farnsworth has a record of 18-4, and Kanash has a record of 21-6.
So fairly evenly matched wrestlers here. This is going to be an interesting one. Boy, it comes down to this one. The score is 32-27. If Hurricane scores a pin here,
No, it's 35. They didn't give him the points.
Oh,
for
okay,
that.
there
So,
we go.
So, I mean,
It's
academic.
out of reach.
It's academic at this point.
Out of reach for Hurricane as a team. Now it just comes down to personal pride for Farnsworth. Both good wrestlers here. I'm excited to see how they stack up against each other. I don't believe they faced each other yet this year. This is the only time that the two teams will face off in a duel, but there are opportunities throughout the year at different tournaments to see each other. I can't remember, but I don't think that Kanosh and Farnsworth have seen each other. I could be wrong on that.
Kanosh has some interesting headgear.
So that's a good point, Jeff. Kanosh has a hairnet on because he actually has long hair. It goes down to the middle of his back, and you cannot wrestle in high school with long hair, and so he has to cover it up. But culturally, that's part of his culture. He wears it long intentionally, and so usually at the matches he braids it up and keeps it nice and tight against his head, and then wraps it up into his headgear. Both wrestlers quite aggressively going after it here, and it looks like Farnsworth has got poked in the eye and trying to recover from that. I think the ref is going to bring him to the center, give him an encouragement to stay off the face and keep it clean, and then we're going to get back to the action here. Kanosh has quite an aggressive style. He definitely is very heavy on the head when he wrestles, and sometimes unintentionally that can lead to a poke in the eye. But you hate to see that happen, of course. No one wants that. I don't think that was intentional. It's just a collateral damage in a wrestling match. Both wrestlers tying up in the center of the ring, trying to gain control of the head, as you mentioned earlier, Jeff.
Right.
And as you said, this match is at this point just academic. Snow Canyon will win this duel, but it comes down again to personal pride for each wrestler to get that win and exert their dominance over their opponent.
And it's interesting that you get to this weight category and they really are more dependent on strength than the speed.
Definitely becomes a game of strength. You'll see that at this weight class, if you do have speed, you definitely have an advantage. And I'll say, both of these wrestlers look like they have the potential to have a burst of speed here. Great attempted shot there by Farnsworth. Tui with the defense. We got the front headlock again. That is taught in the Snow Canyon room where the kids practice it all the time. A lot of times they're able to convert that front headlock into points, but Kanosh was unable to do so, but used it as great defense from Farnsworth's shot there. And both wrestlers still on their feet looking for that takedown.
And the first period's just about over.
It's not uncommon in the 220 and in the 285 weight class that you go scoreless in the first period. Obviously that it depends on the match and the wrestlers. A lot of times you will see wrestlers that will score takedowns, but it's not overly uncommon that you don't score in the first round.
Farnsworth, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but then it becomes that much more important that you score when you can. And Kanosh takes the bottom. He's very good on the bottom, is very hard to keep down, and oftentimes is able to stand up and score a point. And sometimes in this weight class, you'll find that that's the score of the wrestling match, 1-0. So Kanosh gets the escape there, and Farnsworth immediately comes right back in on the attack, trying to capitalize on balance, but unable to do so at least yet. An attempted head throw there, but both wrestlers go well out of bounds.
Yep.
Kanosh ending up on the hardwood floor there.
I don't know if you noticed, but the cheerleaders were a little nervous there for a minute.
They were a little nervous. You see them leaning away from that action, and I don't blame them, Jeff.
No, I would too.
I would do the same thing.
Yes.
A minute and a half left in the second period. Kanosh is up by 1 point. And
thanks to his escape from the start of the second period.
That's right. So once again, very heavy on the head from both wrestlers, trying to gain head control, trying to use that head control as a setup to possibly shoot in on the legs or try to slide by their opponent and get behind and see if they can bring their opponent down to the mat. It's a very different technique. It's not poor technique. It's just different technique that you see in these bigger young men as they wrestle. A lot of times you'll see in these in the earlier matches you saw in the lighter weights a lot of leg shots and shooting in on the legs and getting down on the ankles and really shooting in. You oftentimes don't see that in the heavier weights because when you shoot in and you have 220 pounds down on top of you, that's a lot of weight. So you use a different technique, and that front headlock and the head tie-up is a way to do that. And Kanash trying.
Farnsworth is trying to get himself out of bounds so that they go back to the center, and
Kanash is trying to capitalize and get some points there. Neither wrestler able to score there. But you saw the technique there.
Yeah.
Kanash controlling the head, driving his head down, and then trying to spin around behind, and then Farnsworth trying to hold on to those legs and keeping Kanash from doing that, and he was successful in that attempt.
I don't know if you noticed, the official was calling them to he was warning them about stalling, both of them. Neither one was doing a whole lot of action, so they started getting really busy after he talked to them.
And that is often the case. As soon as you hear that action or movement from the official, that's a pre-warning that you need to get moving out there on the mat.
Yep.
So we're going to go into the third period with Kanash ahead by 1 and Farnsworth at 0. Farnsworth will take the bottom position, and he will try to escape. And Kanash, of course, is going to do his very best to hold him down and see if he can ride him out for this last round and keep that 1-point advantage, but unable to do it. Farnsworth gets the escape and goes right to work with his own front headlock, but Kanash wants nothing to do with that and spins out of it.
So much lower body strength and upper body strength, but the lower body strength is what pulled them out of the front headlocks.
Yes. Both wrestlers tied up in the center of the mat. You have to know that they're both tired at this point.
I'm tired just watching them. Now the official's warning them again to do some action.
We've got to move out there. We've got to try to move to a scoring position. And the score is 1-1. Both wrestlers having scored an escape.
Yeah.
Farnsworth in on the shot. Kanash with that defense backs out of it. Farnsworth once again with a shot attempt, and Kanash is dinged for stalling. That's a warning there, but if he is dinged once again with a warning, that does constitute a point. So Kanash going in for a shot of his own, gets that high C, and doesn't have control yet, but almost there, working on it. If he pulls his head out, he's got it. There it is. 2-point takedown. He goes up 3-1.
With 35 seconds left.
And he's just got to ride him out now. The referee once again telling the wrestlers to keep moving. Kanash has got to be careful there. Oh, there's a 1-point escape for Farnsworth. It's a 1-point match now with 20 seconds left. Both coaches giving encouragement to their wrestlers to keep going. 15 seconds. And Farnsworth in on the shot. Kanash with the head control, spinning behind, trying to get the takedown, but unable to do so. Farnsworth going for the head throw, unable to capitalize. Whoa, once again, big flurry of activity at the end of the match. A lot of frustration from Farnsworth there. Very, very frustrated as he comes to the center of the mat, talking to the official to shake hands with his opponent, Kanash. Kanash with the win with a score of 3-2.
Yeah.
Both wrestlers, even though they're frustrated and heated, go and shake hands with the opposing coach.
Well, I think I can see some of his frustration because the stalling didn't stop.
Yeah.
And so there should have been a point awarded. Not that it would have made any difference. I mean, it would have been a tie.
Well, then it goes into overtime, and then it gets real there. So both teams giving a yell for their opponents, and again, in a show of sportsmanship, will shake hands and congratulate across the mat. The score tonight in your Region 9 duel against Snow Canyon and Hurricane, the Warriors from Snow Canyon, the Tigers from Hurricane, the score 38-27. Great duel, though.
Treated to some wonderful wrestling.
Well-matched wrestlers.
Yeah.
And a lot of, just great wrestling, as you said, Jeff. Just really fun to watch. It's worth noting that, as I said earlier, the season is only about halfway over for these teams, so there's lots of wrestling coming up that you, as a fan, could come and attend. The next wrestling match for Snow Canyon. We have this weekend off for them. They'll not be wrestling on the weekend, but the next wrestling match will be next Thursday, and that's going to be January 18th, 1 week from tonight, against Pineview, and it is at Snow Canyon.
And the next one for Sahurkin High is Wednesday, the 17th of January, and it's Desert Hills High, and it should be here.
Okay, so both of those varsity matches will start at 7 o'clock in their respective high schools at their respective gyms. And once again, Jeff, great night of wrestling.
Wonderful night.
Congratulations to both teams. Snow Canyon Warriors coming out ahead with a score of 38
both
to
coaches,
27.
The whole staff, everybody.
Congratulations to everybody involved, the referee, the scoring officials, and all of the staff here at CEC. It was a pleasure to bring you this Region 9 wrestling duel tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to do that again sometime near in the future. And until then, enjoy the great programming that you find every day and all day here on CEC. And that will be it for us tonight. Jeff, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Kyle. It was great.
It was a pleasure, and we'll hopefully see you again sometime down the road.
Yes, take care, everybody. Goodbye.